It is for certain a wrong, totally wrong, and we are prepared to have a debate with anybody who feels able to come to say, including Jolis Abakoba, that is misleading this bunch of, I don't know how to describe these people who are sitting on the sovereignty of the people, sitting in Abuja, the refuge camp of regional renegades they call Abuja, totally secluded from the people, sharing the blood of the people in the name of our location, in the name of governance, having, standing on the constitution that hijacked the sovereignty of the people. And the people have organized themselves in the process that will see them retrieving their sovereignty, either into a new political arrangement, that's a new union they agree completely among themselves, or unilaterally taking their portion and taking a walk. We had Professor Shoyinka talking about it only a few days ago.
When the word restructuring is bruited around, we often hear the challenge, hey, what do you mean by restructuring? Well, I don't even like the word restructuring. I prefer the expressions like reconfiguration, decentralization. Everybody can grasp that. Decentralization. And those who lead us, they recognize the necessity of it. They recognize the importance, almost the inevitability of it, until they get in power. Yes, that's the difference. Until they get in power. Deconstruction, reconfiguration, decentralization, all this is necessary in order to maximize development. We speak about food hunger because it is real, but palliatives are temporary stopgap policies. They do not reach to the heart of the problem, which is one of decentralized development as massively as possible.
Professor Shoyinka did identify, even not being a lawyer, he had been involved in this process sufficiently from the days of Nadeko when he was operating as Nalicon. He became co-convener in the Pronaco that began to organize the people for how they were going to rework their union. He was a co-plaintiff with Nooro and Ojukwu in the suit that went to court to say that the 2007 and 2009 that went to court to to establish the false basis to challenge the legitimacy of this the fraud you see in my hand. And so he's been involved sufficiently to be able to do what he did at the 50th anniversary event of Punch newspaper, where, I'm talking about Shoyinka now, where he was explaining to the country that Nigeria has come to where we have to either dismantle it peacefully so that people don't die, or we go to rework it wholesale. That reworking, he says, instead of talking about restructuring that nobody seems to know how to describe, that it is a reconfiguration of the union, a wholesale reconfiguration of the union, which starts with the dismantling of the bad arrangement that is not working. We have all seen it's not working. How long shall we maintain this pretense? He said reconfiguration. He also identified the fact the people who have to do that business of that reconfiguration. It is the constituent components of Nigeria, the Yoruba, bringing their Yoruba land to federate with Ijo as Ijo that is on Ijo land, and Igbo on Igbo land, and Berom on Berom land. These are the peoples of Nigeria, not any group of people you meet in Osho, the marketplace, or the market no, it is identify the land, because we're talking about aggregation of lands and peoples into one political union. So that arrangement that brings them together. You cannot come and fence them, from outside like the British did in 1914. You just came there without talking to any one of them. You fenced the external the boundaries, and then you called it a name and began to tell them that they are now in marriage amongst themselves. That's how we came here. And now it has injured us sufficiently. And we have organized, we who are the victims of that bad arrangement have organized. As there's no difference between the amalgamation of 1914 and the amalgamation of 1999. They were both done by fiat, with no reference to the people who are going to be federated. And so, unfortunately for the authors of this fraud, they put our signature as the authorization for this abomination. And that is what we are pulling back. And as Professor Shoyinka did point out in his lecture at Punch event, that there's this, like demonic fear of, paralyzing fear that this Nigeria will break up. It is in refusing to go to discuss the union and the terms of the union that you are now providing a guarantee that the union will break up. What we are doing, what NINAS is doing, is the last opportunity those who want to have a union will have to get to that. Otherwise, right now, we have no union. The instrument that brought the union, that is keeping the union right now, has been defeated. It's dead. The National Assembly has acknowledged it by going to search for a new constitution, which they have no power to make. And so, let us be clear-minded that the only thing that can happen, like we saw in the case of Yugoslavia, they refused to discuss. It went up in smoke. Today we have Croatia and the other countries that came out from it, Macedonia, 6 countries. But we saw the festival of blood that preceded, because they refused to discuss. But we look also at the old Soviet Union. It came to where they just went back to their natural fault lines, and we have 16 countries or so, 15. We don't know what will happen to Crimea eventually, So it is in that sense that we once more invite everybody to take this opportunity of come down from our high horses, all of those who think they can keep Nigeria by brigandage. We come down from our high horses, get into a transition as quickly as we can, and go discuss those 2 questions. If we don't, by that act of refusing to, we're only saying farewell to the failed Lugadian experiment of 1914. So we come back to telling the National Assembly that no alphabet will be taken from this 1999 Constitution. And if anybody would then say, oh, we are going to amend it, like we saw, I don't know who, on behalf of the Bar Association of Nigeria, before Lisa Bokaba came to preach his nonsense to them, the Bar Association had issued a notice inviting all the lawyers in Nigeria to please come with memorandum for how National Assembly will do amendment of everything that needs to be amended in the Constitution. The contention of NINAS, in case anybody had been deaf or dumb all this while, the contention of NINAS is simple. We have not made any constitution, full stop. We neither met, we didn't agree, nor write any. We just did not do what was alleged to have been done, which was now basis of which became basis of the instrument that has now hijacked our lives, with a 68-item exclusive list, like 68 chains. When you hear exclusive list, it is like tying somebody up or a group of people with 68 different ropes, chains. That I don't have electricity is because there's one item on that list that says only the federal government can generate and transmit to me. So they shut down my Oji River in Enugu and plunge me into darkness in Aba and Onitsha and Nnewi and everywhere in between. You can't do your highway. You can't do your port. You can't do your security. Your security. They take the asset by that exclusive list. They take the asset, economic asset. They take the power to work that asset. So the Ijaw and their oil and gas. Nigeria takes the oil and gas with that exclusive list. Nigeria takes the right to refine with that exclusive list. So they are selling, they are refining if you take any quantity, you become a criminal. Because Nigeria, there's only one criminal in the arena. The Nigerian state that is coming to take without talking to the owners. What's the definition of robbery or stealing? Is when you come to take without, the consent of the owner. If Nigeria were to cease to exist today, who will be the owner of this body of waters? Who will be the owner of each of these lands? The Yoruba know the beginning and the end of their land. It's not disputed, and that is the basis of sovereignty. That's the basis of self-determination, that they are in their land unchallenged by any other group. They've not been conquered or dislodged. As it is with Yoruba, so it is with Ijo, so it is with Igbo, so it is with Uboni, Anam, Efik, Urobo. Everybody knows their lands. And the Nigeria we're talking about is the aggregation of all these lands. The fact that the National Assembly is now setting out to go and write a new constitution is an admission of the truth that the old constitution is dead. And what that means is that right now, the business to discuss is whether the constituent components of the defunct Federation of Nigeria, because the union anchored on that constitution is out of the way, but there are still the Yoruba, there are still the Ijo, there are still the Igbo, there are still the Ogoni clustered around here. There are still people in Abuja sharing beer and wine in the name of governing Nigeria and presiding over Nigeria and legislating for Nigeria. All that can be going on. But the serious business that has turned up to be done now, very urgently too, is to settle the question, the two questions Bola Ige raised a long time ago. Do we still want to federate? That's the peoples of Nigeria, not anybody else. And if yes, on what terms? Those are the two things that have to be settled before any other business. If those two things are not being done, I can assure you that the collapse, the death, the demise of the 1999 Constitution means that the union anchored on it is no more, and therefore the sovereignties confiscated and conscripted into that Nigerian union are now free to be taken by those who can organize themselves. Their sovereignty is inalienable. Their right to determine for themselves how they live in their space is inalienable. Combine the two and juxtapose with your dead instrument. The union, the agreement to unionize is what we call the Constitution. And we knew what we agreed upon. We agreed to be a federation. And we are no longer a federation. We agreed to be a secular state. We are no longer a secular state because some people imposed Sharia, because some people, fractured that federation into what it has become, a unitary state. The other day we saw Gowon going about talking about how beautiful things have become. But he's not looking at what is happening on the plateau, that people are being slaughtered in the manner they are being slaughtered. Why is this so? He was part of how he was at the center of, he was the one that fractured the four regions on the 27th of May in 1967. It was on that day, by decree number 14 of 1966, that Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon, who is still loafing around playing for Nigeria that is a criminal enterprise, playing for Nigeria that feeds on the blood of its own citizens, that it shall be well with Nigeria. That's what he's doing, 50, 60 years after the evil they created in place of the Nigeria that should have worked for everybody. And so the issue is we are no longer a federation because somebody divided the four regions of the time into 12 states, took all the economic assets, all their assets and powers, handed over to an omni, that's some kind of a fraud, an illicit federal government, because you can't have a federal government without a federation. We don't have a federation anymore. We have a country, quite all right. It is that country that is the unitary, that's become the monster that is killing people in the Middle Belt, confiscating people's assets in Lagos and Port Harcourt, making life impossible for the ones in Aba and Onitsha. Because without electricity, where do you go? Without road. I saw some people rejoicing about geometric, and then some loafers again come from somewhere to say, Southeast Development Commission. What kind of lunatics are we talking about like this? The same madmen who did not find the presence of mind to implement the reconstruction and rehabilitation and reconciliation of 1970 are now going to develop the dotting circle they created east of the Niger, the one they call Southeast. It takes being mad, it takes being out of your sense to think that you use this constitution to confiscate the sovereignty and the assets of people. Then you sit in Abuja and set up Southeast Economic, Southeast Development Commission. Has Niger Delta become El Dorado since you created Niger Delta Development Commission? That the East should now begin to rejoice. And characters like Enyinna Baribe and his co-travelers from that part were thinking that that was the better thing to do. We insist that our sovereignty cannot be subjugated to anything that does not take off from our own consent. Whatever it will take, that monster that is sitting on our sovereignty and trying to come to build our road for us, build electricity for us, build our schools for us, as if we have gone lame.
As if we are handicapped. As if we are handicapped. So this video is on our Facebook page. It's actually there for you to share with brothers and sisters. If you don't understand all of these things, you will be rejoicing with your enemies. You will be dancing and praying for your enemies. But when you understand what has been done, then you are more empowered to challenge some of the things that you're hearing in the media. Mind you, the media is, what do you call it, brown paper media?
Yeah, brown envelope.
Brown envelope. They don't have a paper envelope.
Yeah.
Yeah. They go
with
and
the packages. Yes.
what?